started.
You guys sit down here and I'll just follow under my headphones. We're going to do it out there.
All right, and it seems like it started right up, so we'll see.
That's weird.
I hit the record button, so...
I mean, everything's working?
It looks like everything's working. I don't know. That's strange.
Shit.
I don't know what to do.
What are we going to do?
I don't know. All right, so it's welcome to Jeremiah Creek. We even have the names on the right side. So this is me, Dave Haynes, right here.
Good Lord.
And that is... Wait. This
One
way.
of us is bound to have a heart attack right now.
Right, that's Bull Garlington over there. All right, so it's a new year, 2024. Hard to believe.
Yeah. What are your resolutions?
I'm trying to lose a little weight. I'm doing the intermittent fasting. So the first 2 days have gone well. We'll see.
Down.
Because I can't get the Ozempic or anything like that because unfortunately my health is perfectly good. So what else was I gonna say? It's 2024. I was talking the other day about how I had this vivid memory on New Year's Day of thinking about when I was a kid how old I would be in the year 2000 and how I thought that was so old.
Yeah.
I was going to be 33 or whatever, 32. And I don't know. I for some reason I had such a vivid memory of that, of being a teenager and going, man, I'm gonna be so old when it's
Yeah. Where are our flying cars?
And now it's 2023. No flying cars, no Jetsons.
Well, there are some flying cars, actually. They're just not. Not everybody has them, but they are out there, and they do work. It's something I keep up with, and there's some flying cars out there. They're pretty impressive, but
I expected to have totally autonomous cars by now.
I mean, we're close.
I know, but I expected to have them before my youngest could drive because
that would be better.
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
I don't understand that too. I don't think my youngest daughter is any worse of a driver than any of my other kids, but maybe it's just because I'm older. I'm 10 years older than when my son learned to drive. That it's terrifying being in the car with her. First of all, does every kid... I don't remember. Were we taught this, or did I just learn it after 30 years of driving around all the time for my work? That these kids seem to think that it's either you pressing on the gas or you're pressing on the brake. There's no... are they not taught to let the car coast if you're at a good speed and that it maintains that speed? You don't have to keep pressing the gas?
I don't know. Is it from video games? I don't get it. My wife is either all acceleration or no acceleration.
Well,
you know?
Yeah. I would be happy with a no acceleration at some point, but it's like, I mean, I see a half a block up the red light and she's still pressing on the acceleration. And then when she, at the right time, when it's the right time to slow down, she hits the brake. But it's like you could take your foot off the gas.
Have you spoken to her about this?
Every single time I'm in the car, which probably mean.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know.
You know, we rented an electric car when we were in San Francisco, and it doesn't coast. If you take your foot off the finger quote gas, it stops.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't brake, but it decelerates completely. Like there's no coasting.
So you have to keep the accelerator pushed down at a specific level.
Yeah.
To keep it at a specific speed.
Yeah, it's going to change the way people drive. They're going to be able to, if they ever get in a gas car, they're not going to know what to do.
Well, I suppose then that would be beneficial for my daughter. Maybe I should buy her an electric car.
Only autonomous cars are the only way to go. I can't wait for autonomous cars.
And it's hard to explain. When I tried to explain it to her, other than the if something happens, you have to take your foot from it. It's twice as long to take it from the accelerator to the brake as opposed to hovering over the brake and being able to brake. But aside from that, I tell her, you're going to spend a lot of money on brake jobs in your lifetime if you keep driving like this.
It's also more enjoyable drive.
Yeah, I think so.
With my wife, it's like this. You know, and I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, you're either accelerating or you're braking.
Yeah.
Well, that means that your brakes are going to wear out fast.
I'm sick to my stomach when I ride with her. So, I don't have any New Year's resolutions, though. I did restart my business this year, so I guess I'll be doing that. But, and I am down 33 pounds.
Wow. Congratulations.
Which is cool, but no one said anything, which means that, holy shit, I was really fat. For me to be down 33 pounds and still no one's noticed.
Yeah.
You know? I was pretty fat right now.
Well, you know, another thing is, it has become sort of an insult to comment on people's weight loss. Have you noticed that throughout my adult life? When I was younger, I used to get a lot, or maybe it's just because they don't say it to old people, but the idea that you're commenting, and I blame this completely on women, but it'd be like, hey, you look like you've lost weight. What are you saying? I was fat?
Yeah. I mean, people used to say that to me a lot because I think they didn't know what to say to me. You know, like they walk into the room and there it is, the parade float. Like, oh, hey, have you lost weight? And I'd be like, no. My answer is always, no. Like it's an emergency. Like,
do I need to?
What do you mean? Okay, so you sent me an article.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure which part of the article you sent me caused you to send it to me. But I want to discuss both sides because, first of all, the content of the article is a little bit alarming. But the tone of the article
well, this is
was ludicrous. And that's coming from a hippie liberal Democrat. And it was like, all right, enough. You know?
Well, okay, so let me pull out the general order. So the police department issued a general order. By the way, for those of you listening in foreign countries and outside of Illinois, this is the Chicago Police Department. And basically, you can look up all of the Chicago Police Department orders, written orders, online. They have a department directives. It's available and open to the public. You can look at every order that the police department gives.
And you should.
And that it also includes, I mean, general orders. All right. Everything in the police department is written down. General orders, your job description, if you look at each rank, what they're supposed to be doing, how to do traffic stops, how to do what you're supposed to say. It's all written in general orders. And throughout my career, they've gotten much, much better at making it easily accessible because there's thousands of them. Yeah. So, anyway, they issued a new general order that took effect on the 29th of December, and it's the title is Interactions with Youth and Children. All right, so, and basically it's telling people how to use. Now, one of the things that they do in this general order, most of it is standard things. Now, because my career spanned the beginning of Generation X, there has been, half my career has been talking about how to supervise these lunatic Generation X people that we've managed to raise. But
finger quote.
Yeah, it's our fault. I have, you know, it's just. But I remember being a kid, and you know, you ask the question why. I remember I used to always ask the question why. You know, people tell you to do something. Well, why should I do that? When people tell you to do something, well, why should I do that? And I was real big on that because I was very interested in how things worked and why things worked that way and this and that. And that lasted a couple of days into boot camp when, you know, you ask the question why and you get smacked in the head. Don't ask why. Do what you're told. You know, literally get you smacked in the head if you ask why. And so you learn how not to ask why. These days you don't smack kids in the head anymore, so they keep asking why well into their 30s. Okay, so
that's the poorest example of why this is bad I could even think of.
In the orders, in every order, they define terms. Okay, the first section is always definitions. Okay, so they define an adult as a person who is 18 years or older. Okay. They define a child as a person who is under the age of 13. Okay, that makes sense. A juvenile is a person who is 17 years old or younger when an offense occurred, and that's based on the law. And then they added what a youth is.
A ute?
A ute. A youth. Yeah, as in, yeah. What was that? What movie was that?
Cousin Vinny.
My Cousin Vinny. Youth. A youth is a person of the age 13 to 24 years old. Is what now the Chicago Police Department considers a youth. So, the story that I sent you, which was in CWB Chicago. CWB stands for Crime in Wrigleyville and Boys Town. It started off as a neighborhood blog that looked at crime around Wrigley Field. Wrigleyville and Boys Town is the neighborhood around Wrigley Field. Boys Town is what used to be the gay neighborhood. Now, I mean, it's still the LGBT community's main neighborhood. That's where most of the bars are.
Yeah.
They have the statues and stuff like that. So this blog originally started out as just a blog that talks about crime in their neighborhood. Now, it has become a pretty major news source because for those of you who don't live in Chicago, like we have the Chicago Sun-Times, Chicago Tribune.
Chicago Block.
What is that called? Block Club Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, before Block Club Chicago started a few years ago, we had just the Sun-Times and Tribune. Sun-Times and Tribune no longer cover news. They no longer do any kind of investigative reporting or anything that would be anti the politics of the day. So CWB and Block Club Chicago started covering real news, so they've become a main news source. And so they did this story. And by the way, the reason I sent it to you was both for the content and for the tone.
The tone is ludicrous.
And so they did a story that's titled, "People Under 25 Are Developmentally Different Youth," says the Chicago Police Department, which hires 21-year-olds to be cops. So their point is to cover the order, which now says Chicago police officers are supposed to treat 24 and younger as youths, but they're making the point that you have people that are under 25 that are police officers. So, I mean, it seems to me they do get a little goofy in the story, but they make a good point. It's like, well, wait a minute now. Then do you treat police officers who are under 25 years old differently than you treat police officers that are older 25 years old? So if somebody, I don't know, gets involved in a shooting that might be questionable, and they're under 25, do you then, maybe not make them follow all the same rules that you would make a policeman over 25 follow? I don't think.
Do they get a participation trophy?
Do they? Yeah. Well, some of the questions they ask here. Let's see. Claiming people under 25 are developmentally different from adults is an interesting starting point for a police department that accepts applications from 20-year-olds and hires at the age of 21. What did they say here?
Did it say they're developmentally different from adults? Or did they say they're developmentally different from previous iterations of youths?
Developmentally different from adults is in quotes, so that must be part of the... When cops encounter youths and children, the primary concern will be to safeguard the youths and the children's emotional and physical well-being, the order continues. All members will maintain a sensitive approach and respond to these situations to minimize any trauma. Now, by the way, when we're reading this stuff, it's nothing that they haven't taught. The only difference in all of this stuff is the idea that my entire career, we were trained that you treat people as adults when they're over 18. So the fact is, from 18 to 25, that's the only difference. All this stuff that I just read is stuff that they would teach us in class, that we would treat kids the same way. But then they start their tone.
Yeah.
So it says officers, and then even those who are technically youths will engage with youths and children in a developmentally appropriate manner And they must take into account their age and physical, cognitive, emotional, cultural, and linguistic development. Exactly how a police officer under 25, whom the department believes are not fully developed, can make those determinations is a mystery.
They didn't say they're not fully developed. They said they're developmentally different.
Yeah.
This article is nitpicking is unnecessarily nitpicking. I think that the Chicago police force is making a valuable recognition.
Oh, you do? Really?
I do. I don't like it, but I think they're correct. This is a huge topic in our conversation today at breakfast, was how we are experiencing a generation behind us that is having an extended adolescence.
Wait. I'm sorry. I have to right away argue with your use of the word experiencing. We are not experiencing. You said we are experiencing a generation behind us, and then you were going on. And I'm sorry to interrupt. We're not experiencing it.
Why?
We're creating it. It's us. We're the problem, not
Maybe.
the kids.
I'm not so sure that's entirely true. I think some of it's true, but I think we can take full responsibility for it at all. And it's certainly not just because of how we raised our children or anything like that. It's not just that. But Gen Z, not Gen X as much, but Gen Z definitely has an extended adolescence. And I think that extension goes well beyond 25, and I think it's getting further. I think there are people that are going to be in their 40s that have all the developmental aspect of adolescence, because they are not going through what Maslow in 1945 delineated as the 4 stages of human development. They're missing the very first one because they are not establishing themselves, because they're not leaving home, and they're also not going out of their home. They are people that live a life that is essentially virtual, and that is a problem.
It's their problem, though. It's not our problem.
I mean, it's a little bit our problem.
No, I don't think so. I think if you are going to go outside your home, you have to abide by the societal norm. Let me explain something else. No other country's doing this. They're not treating these kids as little kids. And I think that we're really doing a disservice to our future. I mean, probably not till after we're dead, so it won't matter to us. But their future, by trying to say that these are kids. They're not. They're kids.
I don't think they're saying they're kids. I think they're saying they're youth. I think that is a differentiation.
I think, but you have to be, okay. You have to at some point be treated as an adult.
I agree with that.
All they're doing is changing when you're treated as an adult. And in the meantime, they're putting people in the military.
I don't think it says that, Dave. It clearly says that someone is an adult after 18. But
for legal purposes.
Right, but it says they're youths till 25. I think what it's saying is that the current crop, so to speak, of people in that age group are different from the ones before.
Yeah, but don't you think the very next step is going to be their youths? We have to treat them differently when they get in trouble. If they're saying right now is, okay, if you're over 18, you're treated as an adult if you get in trouble legally. But you're a youth, so that you're developmentally different than adults. Wouldn't the next step be, well, wait a minute, if that's true, we can't treat them the same way. If just because a guy who's 30 years old and should know better gets a year in prison for whatever his crime is, the exact same crime committed by a 24-year-old shouldn't be as bad, because
I don't think it's going to do that.
I think that's the very next step.
I don't think it is the next step. I think that
what
they're saying is that a police officer, you may have a different experience with people in that age group than you ever have before. That's what I think it's saying, because I think that that's not speaking to people in that age group. I think it's speaking to people outside of that age group.
Well, yeah, but
I think that's why they had to put it in there.
The order also instructs the city's cops to exercise discretion and use alternatives to arrest and referral to court, such as issuing warnings, conducting informal counseling to caution youth and children regarding the consequences of their actions, and issuing citations. So that literally, not only is it the next step, it was the next paragraph. You should start thinking about maybe not arresting them. And by the way, as a retired police officer, conducting informal counseling to caution youth and children regarding the consequences of their actions will get you in trouble. Well, it's saying that they're saying that in the order, but if there's a video of somebody going, listen, you can't really go around beating kids and stuff, and you try to do that. A, you're going to get in trouble for talking down to people, or if it was a woman, mansplaining, and B, you're going to get in trouble from the victim by not taking police action when you should have arrested them. If that video came out, you would get hammered on both sides. There's just no way around it. I mean, it happens all the time.
I think the reason that they put this out is because that current and upcoming age group, 18 to 25, are reacting to authority different than any other age group prior to them.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a positive thing. And I think the reason they're putting it out is because I think that police officers, to be successful in what they're doing, are probably going to have to act differently. I think it's a reaction to the way society's changing. I don't think it means that the laws are going to change. I don't think so.
Well, it means I don't think so either, right? But I think it means the application of those laws has changed. Cameras. I was in on all the meetings at the time of buying body cameras, and I was in a meeting one time, and I kind of was half joking when I said this, but I was in a meeting one time that talked about how we were going to maintain maybe at the end of next month. You get 30 days basically for some lawyer to come in if they wanted to preserve officers acting good and doing the right proper thing, and the citizens and the people that the police deal with acting crazy and being very rude and mean to the police.
I mean, that's par for the course now, people being rude. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
And literally the reason that was that shot me down, and it was straight out said in the meeting, is that if we did that, we would immediately get pushed back from the public, and we would not be able to have these cameras because people would not allow their bad behavior to be public. They want the police officers' bad behavior to be public, but they don't want their bad behavior to be public.
That's true.
And they would have immediately pushed back and they would have demanded we get rid of the cameras.
It'd be nothing but Karen videos.
Right, yeah. And now that this is 10 years later or whatever since we got those things, since I sat in those meetings, I think that I was absolutely right. That the best thing we could have done was made all those videos public.
I agree, and then turn AI on them, and have AI do a data thing and say what's the impartial data read on police behavior, and show people stats, man.
Yeah, and how many people would be on multiple videos acting crazy multiple occasions?
Yeah. Repeat offenders.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of them.
They're out there, man.
Yeah, and you would not believe the amount of videos that I used to watch where people are acting as such assholes that are acting, and police officers being so patient and putting up with this crap.
Yep.
And
you
then
don't see those.
And then that police officer somewhere down the road would get in trouble for something, and the public would come after them like they were the fucking worst thing since. I don't know. Whatever.
It comes down to what you and I talked about many years ago, and that is that the loss of the neighborhood cop is a big problem. You know, it's a big problem because it's become since the late 50s, it's become an us versus them thing, and that's just the division between. It's just another of the terrible great divides, and people no longer see a police officer as somebody they know, or even as a real person, and forget that they're also citizens. They just forget.
But that's a lot of that is politicians. The idea that now, granted, when I dealt with school police officers, well, that's not true. In 15, all right, one of the ways that made it look good was having the school police officers, was kids having police officers that they dealt with in their schools, was a way for people to understand that. And then there's been this push to pull cops out of schools, which is really an idiotic. I mean, in Chicago now, we're probably going to do it next year. We'll probably have no more police officers in schools, which is politically will be seen as a win for the progressive people in this.
Hey,
it's total BS because
I'm a progressive person and I'm not for it.
Oh well, so the socialists then, but it's going to be they're going to vote on it this year. They're probably going to win. They're probably going to pull all the police officers out, and there's probably going to be a lot of celebration among the progressives and the race baiters and whatever. And it's ridiculous because anytime you have a conversation with somebody, I say, well, what are you going to do for security? Oh, well, we'll hire security guards. Who the fuck is
cops?
Yeah, they're going to be off-duty cops. They're all off-duty cops. The only difference being is you might have Chicago police and a county sheriff, and which is great, but it's the same people. You're just paying them extra money.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
plus, once they're not when they're acting just from a security firm, they may have different rules.
Well, yeah.
Police officers have the best rules that you can get in that situation, I think. Yeah, just people
police
don't
officers
understand
are
who
wearing.
Police officers are.
Yeah, police officers wear body-worn cameras. Security guards don't.
Yeah.
On the other hand, schools are almost all now in hallways they have cameras.
Everybody, teachers and police officers in schools, are just treated like shit by the students.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
teachers. Well, I was going to say most of the teachers that I know, and my sister's a teacher, so I know a few, do not like the idea of not having police officers around.
Because they've been threatened by students.
But most of the teachers that I hear about on the media are all for it. I don't understand. I don't understand why my experience, what do you call that? My apocryphal experience is different from what people say. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, how can your experience be so different than what you see in the media? Is it just that you don't know enough people, or is it that?
No, it's a terrible aspect of the media. It's one of my least favorite aspects of televised media, and that is that they will only broadcast something. They don't exist for the same reason that print media existed. Print media existed to inform the public over a broad range of subjects. Broadcast media doesn't. Broadcast media exists to sell ads, and they will do everything in their power to maintain attention. And over the last 20 years, that has come down to broadcasting the most egregious and most ridiculous and spectacular things they can find. So someone doing their job is not newsworthy.
Yeah.
But somebody that doesn't, the anomaly is what's newsworthy.
Well, I agree with that, but I think the print media is getting that way too.
Well, yeah, you're right, because print media is gone. And so the only thing that's left is basically a version of broadcast media, because they're trying so hard to. It's just a terrible fracture of how we see information. But for the broadcasters, by only broadcasting the anomaly, they eventually change the game.
Yeah, they make the anomaly normal.
Yep. That's what people believe everything is like. And no one is doing the necessary or rigorous intellectual effort, which doesn't really take that much, to realize that the one guy you see tackling a 9-year-old in an elementary school doesn't represent all of the police officers in the school. Right.
And also, by the way, the 9-year-old usually doesn't represent all the other 9-year-olds in the school.
True.
But getting back to the story, the tone that we were talking about is very kind of mocking of the whole thing, and it gets back to the point that the print media is more and more like this now. Just because I tend to agree with this author's,
not exactly print media.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's online.
Only because I read all my stuff online.
Do they print?
Oh, come to think of it, I'm not sure if CWB.
Yeah, I don't think they actually have a.
I'm not sure
newspaper.
if CWB does.
It still counts. I guess
It's hard. It's hard for me to do because I don't read actual.
I guess it counts
physical.
because you have to read it.
Yeah.
So I guess it still counts as print.
Now, just because I tend to agree with this guy's point of view doesn't mean that I don't see that he is way injecting his point of view into into the story. It's not just
that's
reporting.
Because it's not a.
What?
Because he's not an impartial journalist.
He's supposed to be. And here's
Is
the
he?
thing. Yeah, he's not. That's not a column. That was a news story, and he's not a columnist. And my thing is that I see this all the time now with straight news stories, not columns.
Yeah.
You always now are getting their point of view
Because the anomaly has changed the definition.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, I'm trying to think of. I mean, I read. Let's see. I read every day. I read the Sun Times, the Tribune, CWB, Daily Caller, National Review, and a couple other ones. But and Block Club Chicago. Probably Block Club Chicago is the most straight news story. Although you still get some of their stuff. You still get some of their opinion in their stories.
They're the one that operates most like a newspaper.
Yeah, because and they're also the only one that covers hyper local news.
Well, and they're staffed by trained They're staffed by people that went to the J school.
But I think J school's teaching them how to do this now.
I don't know if that's true or not. I know somebody who's in J school right now, and that's definitely not something that they're dealing with.
I would love to talk. You should get somebody on. I would love to talk to somebody who actually is going to school these days.
He's a gay Gen Z dude, man.
I don't care
because not going to agree with a goddamn thing we say.
I would love to. You should invite him for a cigar and say, let's talk to him about what are they teaching people, because I've heard, I've read stories, and these are all opinion stories about the fact that J schools should be teaching reporters not to just straight report the news, but to report. They should be not just objective. Objective journalism is out now, according to these people, and it should be.
What people?
These are like columnists, national columnists usually. They should be pushing a point of view. They should not be telling you just straight news. They should be telling you what it should be or what it means and stuff like that. And I would love to know if that is actually filtered in to J school or if that is just opinion journalists making noise. I would love to know that if that's true, because it terrifies me to think that they would actually start teaching kids.
Well, I don't believe in journalism by definition is activism. Investigative journalism by definition is activism, and the purpose of journalism, to a degree, is activist in nature. Because the purpose of journalism, purpose of the civilian press, is the reason it's called the Fourth Estate is because it's there to keep those elements of power in check by making sure that they remain transparent.
Okay,
that's the point of it. But in order to do that properly and not become a problem itself, it must maintain absolutely infallible or aim for infallible objectivity. And it definitely is not doing that anymore.
No.
It doesn't serve the public any good. I disagree with whoever you read that says that people should begin to report with a point of view. I think that's bullshit.
I agree. And I also think that I think the bigger problem than people reporting with a point of view is people, investigative journalism I have lost all respect for. And I have because if a journalist is looking into a story, they seem to have starting with a point of view. And if their point of view turns out to be wrong, or if they can't prove their point of view, they don't say that. They just drop the story. So it's like you don't hear anybody saying, "Hey, we investigated this, and this is what we found. This is what we expected to find, and this is what we found, and those two things being different." Never.
That does happen. But no one reads it.
I don't know.
I look
for
the back pages of the Christian Monitor or the Columbia what is it, the Columbia Report on Journalism, or some of the more some of the rarer industry things, but in popular media, absolutely not. Not even close. Not even, I remember when I was first introduced to investigative journalism, and I came into it, because I was a kid thinking, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to go after people. And the reporter I talked to said, no, that's not what we do. And he goes, we see that there is an issue, and we want to find out what that issue is. We don't know who's causing it. We don't know why it's being caused. We don't know who all the victims are. We don't know what it's all about. So what we do first is we go in and we gather data, and we look at that data, and the story comes from the data. And that's what this guy told me, and that's what the newspaper practiced.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing that anymore.
I don't think they're doing that anymore. You know why? Because they can't afford to.
Well, there is that, but I mean, yeah,
that's just the simple fact of it is that they can't afford to anymore, but also because of the Stiegler thing that fucking Clinton signed, they're directed not to because they're usually owned by an absolutely gigantic company.
Yeah.
The Tribune it's not even the Tribune anymore. It's Trunk, and they own so much media, and it's just it's an unfortunate thing. It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
You should never be allowed to own shouldn't be allowed to own that much media. It's just wrong.
No, it seems like to me you should only be allowed to own I don't know, maybe media in one county of any state. How about that?
Well, you shouldn't own newspapers and TV and radio. You should maybe have a newspaper and radio, or newspaper and TV, but you can't have all of them, and the means of production, and the means of advertisement, and the paper companies, and the tree farms. I mean, it's just too much.
Yeah.
All right? You need to just stick with a small thing. And they don't do that. You know how many newspapers there used to be in the city? Daily newspapers.
I know a lot.
50. 50 daily newspapers. Can you imagine that? 50 fucking daily newspapers, man. It would have been beautiful. But, okay, so now you have 50 daily blogs.
Yeah.
So it's changed a little bit. The difference is that people aren't made aware of them the way they used to be. I'm seriously considering subscribing to print newspaper.
Well, I think subscribing to print news. I mean, first of all, I actually have a hard time reading books now. I read everything digitally, so just the holding the book and not being able to switch if I'm and check out a different book for a while has gotten me now. But
with you.
I would say subscribe to like there's a Substack I think is going to be the best. Like I don't subscribe to it. I get a few free things, and I keep saying I should subscribe to some of these things. But
I don't want to use those anymore because they're too tailored, whether I try or not, to my taste, and I don't want that. I want my newspaper to not respond to how I read or what I read.
But I see. I think that newspapers are tailored now. They're tailored to whatever government of the city that you live in.
What I mean is, when I read Google News, for instance, it keeps up with my searches. It tracks what I click and what I spend time on, and it changes the news feed to match that better because it knows that's what I want. So it constantly changes my feed to reflect my taste. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want my newspaper just to give me the news and fuck me. I read whatever I read, and it gives me whatever it thinks it should give me. Yeah. That's what I think it should do.
Right, but my point is that basically then you're just reading somebody else's tastes.
Yeah.
Not it's not that it's
a
trying
journalist's taste.
Well, no, the editors.
An editor's taste. Editors are good at that.
Yeah, but they're not. My point is that they're not. What it used to be was you would get 100 different tastes, and you would figure out, and then you would be exposed to other people's opinion than yours. What now it is like, especially in Chicago, but I've seen this in Tennessee too, is that you're getting City Hall's take on things.
Yeah.
Or at least the dominant political party.
You got to pick the right newspaper.
So it's interesting when I read a Tennessee newspaper, because I am getting a little different. The local news is different, obviously, and so that's more fun to read. For me, it's more fun to read, straight news stories about what's going on in the neighborhood, which is why Block Club Chicago is the only one that seems to be reporting that kind of stuff anymore. Like, they did a whole thing at 8 places to go in the middle of winter that you can go see flowers and crap. I mean,
Yeah, they've also got the only investigative reporters out there right now that are good.
Yeah. All right, so let's switch topics because we're already at 40 minutes.
Wow.
All right. So here's something interesting. I got a very nice gift for Christmas.
Oh, what'd you get?
I got a gift card to Rosebud Restaurant.
To what?
Rosebud Restaurant, the famous old Italian restaurant on Taylor Street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, who gave you that?
Well, it doesn't really matter because Rosebud closed on New Year's Eve. Actually, I think it works in any of the restaurants in there. But I
think I know the restaurant you're talking about. It's really old.
Yeah, 50 years.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I've been there in the last 5 years. Have you?
Uh-uh.
You ain't missing it.
Well, they have a new one, I think.
Closed for a reason.
Just love the fact that I got a gift card there for it.
That is sad. Like, who gave you that? I mean, did they know?
No, it was announced after Christmas.
Oh, there you go.
But Rosebud is now become a company that owns other restaurants, so it's not like I'm not going to be able to use it. But, well, my car is still in the shop.
Man, oh man, oh man! I saw when I was coming back from one errand and going to pick something up to come back here, and I passed by you, and I saw you getting out of that blue car, and I was like, Dave, still no sleigh for Santa.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
And somebody asked me about it on New Year's Day at my dad's house, and I told him a story, and my wife was like, she was laughing. She goes, I could not be mad. He was so angry at himself that I couldn't even be mad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God, it just pisses me off every time I think about it. And for those of you who don't know, I'm not going through the whole story again. Read or listen to our last podcast.
Yeah.
It's called Awesomely Stupid or Awfully Stupid or something like that. Amazingly Stupid, I think it was. But, yeah, so, but it is funny, like my daughter wanted a ride today somewhere and this and that, and I was coming here, and so it's like, trying to, I don't know if I should say this, trying to figure out my wife's schedule, when she needs the car, when I can use the car, because now we're down to one car between us, is amusing to me, because she likes working at home. We have better computers than her office. She has everything set up real nice.
Let me guess.
More productive.
She doesn't need the car until you say, well, I need it then. And then she goes, oh, but I need it then.
Oh, no. Well, she does, but she uses every excuse she can not to go into the office. So okay.
You're helping her out.
Like yesterday, I was telling my daughter, I'm like, well, I might need to use your car tomorrow because Mom's supposed to go in the office, and so I need a car. And she was like, okay, well, what time? And I go, I don't know, whenever she go, because she has acting and stuff. She's in a play again, so she's rehearsal today. So we're trying to figure it out. And I'm like, in reality, don't worry about it, because she'll probably use the fact that I need the car as an excuse not to use it, which is exactly what happened this morning. Well, if you need it, then I'll just stay. I'm like,
okay. My excuse for a little while was that that my license is out of date, so I didn't want my son to use my car. But I got my license my tag fixed today, so now I can. Yeah, I started a new thing today, and that is. It's not a New Year's resolution, though. I did decide to do this right before the New Year, but I'm looking at my near future and the stuff I got on my plate, and I have a lot of shit to do, and I have been sleeping too much and waking up too late in the day, and I got to quit doing that. But I was up today at 6. I got a lot of shit done. I got more done already today than I usually do in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, you know what? When I first retired, I started doing. I started saying to myself, "All right, I'll end up sleeping." Like today, I slept till 10:30,
Yeah.
But
feels good, but it's not very productive.
Yeah, I kind of did that on purpose because first of all, I went to sleep late last night, and because of this intermittent fasting, it was nice to wake up right before I can start cooking.
Yeah.
But when I first retired, I said, all right, I got to make sure I set my alarm clock and get up at a set time every day and start doing stuff.
Because routine matters.
Yeah.
And I just, the other day I was like, I know I have all these things to do. I don't even have, I'll show it to you. I have my patented 4-week to-do list set up. And yet I felt like at liberty, like I didn't have anything pressing because as I was telling my buddy today, I was like, I'm starting to realize that I need someone to tell me what to do. There's value in that. And I think one of the things that really made me happy when my biggest clients were like, can you please come back, was that now somebody's going to be telling me what to do.
Right. You're gonna have deadlines. You're gonna have a framework.
A self-imposed deadline is really easy to change.
Yeah.
So it's hopefully I can keep this up. And we'll see.
Wait, let me ask you this too, because this brings me back to the book that I, because of all my busyness before the holidays, was very easy to just say, "Oh, I can't work on it today," but I want to start working on it now. Do you have Dropbox?
I mean, yeah, I use Google Drive more.
I'm just trying to think of I don't really like using the. We started doing the book on OneNote, right?
I don't have OneNote.
It's Google Drive.
No, it's not. Google Drive is Google Drive.
You know what I mean, but
Google Sheets, Google Docs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Google Docs. I'm sorry. But the I was just wondering if we should do that or do Scrivener to do the book.
I mean, I think Scrivener's cool, but it's going to be a problem for us to do it during production.
Yeah.
Why don't you keep using Google Docs until we've got enough written, and then we'll dump everything we've written into Scrivener, and then we'll start sharing the document.
All right. I'll try to do that.
But I mean, for now, just with the writing and the editing, Google Docs is going to be so much easier. And I mean, that's what everyone that I work with uses. And so, man, I'm in that space all the time now.
All right. We'll try and do that some more. The other topic before we go, because I have to use the washroom, is the other thing I sent you. So my daughter is graduating high school.
You sent me another thing?
Yeah, last week. My daughter's graduating high school. So, you get to the end of the year where you start getting all these reminders of things you want to do. One of the things we got over the holidays was the yearbook order form. It's time to order yearbooks. And yearbooks, by the way, $70 for a yearbook. My daughter wanted it. Yeah. And but one of the things that when we were going through, like, you can add like extra autograph pages or picture holder things inside. One of the things they offered is a protection plan. A lifetime protection plan for your yearbook. And by the way, it's not that you get it free if you lose it. It's that you get it at a reduced cost if you lose it.
I mean, it sounds good now, but 40 years from now, when you lose it in a flood,
are you going to remember?
Not only that, are they going to be able to do it?
Yeah, right.
Sorry, that would require trees. Paper doesn't exist anymore.
But that's just, I thought it was hilarious that you could buy a protection plan for I'm going to see if I can put it on my insurance. I'm going to call my insurance agent and go, hey, listen, they're offering a protection plan for this book.
Buy 2 copies and put one in a safe. That's how you do it.
I didn't even look to see what the price was because me and Annie were laughing so hard at it that it's just...
40 years from now, a $70 yearbook will be...
free. Because you just go to the school and go, hey, you got any extra yearbooks laying around from this year? Yeah. That's all. Well, my captain retired when I was a sergeant, and we were planning his retirement party, and we both graduated from Lane Tech. I literally went to Lane Tech. They go, hey, do you have a yearbook from this year? Oh, yeah, we got a bunch of them. Just take one.
Wow. I wish that my kids had gone to Lane Tech instead of My daughter went to Lincoln Park, and it was just too much.
Well, my daughter's graduating, but she's in the art program at Lincoln Park.
At Lincoln Park?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah was in the art program, and it was too much for her. She's not an ordered person.
Oh.
And it was just... It was fucking crazy.
All right. Well, let's just end this now because we're at 50 minutes and I have to use the
Let's
washroom.
just end it.
Yeah. All right. So join us next week for Jeremiah Creek and the Beat Cops Guide.